Hello YouTube, this is Trapper Rod with Trapper Rod Outdoor Pursuits. Today we're going to take a look at some beaver tail oil that I've been sun rendering all summer long. We started by catching quite a few beavers back in February and early March, and by the time mid-March came around here in mid-Missouri it was pretty warm. So I went ahead and chopped up the tails, put them in 2 glass jars. I've got some brewer's valves, little valves that let the air out. So they didn't off-gas, although sun rendering things don't off-gas too much, not like tainting meat. And they've been sitting here all summer long, since March. Oop, you hear the hounds down there. Those are my pups. You're going to see a lot more of them. Anyway, we're going to take a look at this beaver tail oil. There it is. It's been sitting outside, basically on top of that unused chicken house since March. There were a few nights that got a little cool that I brought it in and kept it warm so it wouldn't freeze, but pretty much I would say 90% of the time since the 15th of March that's been out there sitting on top of this chicken house. It's now about August the 30th, and we're going to go ahead and get some of this beaver tail oil off the top. Only a trapper would think that smells good. So this has been out here since March the 15th. We're going to take this ladle. We're going to ladle it off into some clean glass jars. And we're going to take the rest of this beaver tail sludge. Oh, that's nice and thick. Watch how this pours. About like pancake syrup. Doesn't really have a rotten odor to it. It's got more of a tangy little smell, and not tangy in a way that I'd want to drink it, but I guess the coyotes and dogs can't get enough of it. Again, I'll show you how thick this is. So I'm going to go ahead and skim off this beaver tail oil from this jar as well as the next jar. And then we're going to take this sludge down to the shop, someplace where I can kind of keep an eye on it, maybe in an old fridge, and we're going to try to dry down this beaver tail sludge in chunks. It's my understanding that it makes pretty good coyote bait. Alright, I'm starting to get down to the end of the beaver tail oil in this jar. So we're going to go ahead and tilt that up so we can get the last little bit of it. I think we're about done here. I'm going to go ahead and stir this up. We'll let this sun render a couple more days and let that last bit of oil go ahead and come to the top on this jar. Then we'll set to work getting this sludge thickened up. Make it into a kind of a paste. That's my hope, is that it's going to be a kind of a paste bait to go along with the beaver tail oil, maybe in pipe dream sets, dirt holes, T-bone sets. I've heard of a compass set that I thought was rather interesting. We'll show you some of those a little bit later on when the trapping season gets started. And generally it's good for anything that eats meat. Coons are going to be attracted to it, coyotes are going to be attracted to it, fox are going to be attracted to it. They all want to eat it, dig at it, or waller in it. Get it all smeared all over them like the latest cologne. So I'm going to get this other jar rendered out. Alright, we've got our second jar of beaver tail oil. I noticed at the bottom of it, it looked like there was a thin layer of oil that was trapped down below in all of those chunks. So once we get done with this one, we're going to get the good oil off the top. We're going to stir it up again. We're going to set it back out for another few days in the sun. Let's see if we can get a few more ounces of beaver tail oil. But we've got almost 3/4 of a quart out of that 1 gallon jar that was full. This one was only about 3/4 full. So I think that you can expect for that long of a render, you can expect if you get a gallon jar completely stuffed full of nice cubed up or ground up beaver tails, ground up would be even better. You'd be able to get more material in that gallon jar. And like I said, it doesn't really off gas as much. It doesn't really bubble. I never really, all this summer long, I'd see it bubble very few times. Not like when you're tainting meat. So you can fill that jar pretty darn full. You can get it packed all the way up to the top and not have to worry about exploding a jar, especially if you put this little brewer's valve on it. That contains water. It lets any gases bubble off of it, and it also keeps the flies and the maggots out of your beaver tails before they get that scum of oil on top. Once they get that bit of oil on top, you really won't have any trouble with flies. They won't go down through the oil. It protects the sun-rendered parts down below. But now that we're stirring this up, we definitely want to make sure we put those brewer's valves back on top. And we're going to get a little bit of water in them to make sure that we can't get any bugs down into our product. So I'm going to skim this one off. And again, this is nice and thick. It's got a dark red color to it. It's a deep brownish red. I don't know if that little redness comes through in the camera or not. Right. There's 1 full quart of beaver tail oil. Doesn't take much of a set. I'll be honest with you, I haven't trapped with it yet. But what I've read, just a drop or two, like a little squirt, down a dirt hole or on some backing material in a pipe dream set. Little squirt goes a long way of this stuff. So a full quart should last me on my limited trap line. A full quart should last me, oh, I don't know, probably several years. So, but I'll probably continue to render it off. It's a byproduct of your beaver trapping, and you can sell it to other trappers. They'll buy good sun-rendered beaver tail oil from you. So it's something to take off the catch and make a little money on the other side of it, use it for yourself, and have a little more fun and extend your season. Well, that's about it for beaver tail oil. We'll show some of this beaver tail oil in use. We're going to do some coyote trapping this year. both here on the farm and on a place in west central Missouri, place where we trapped beavers last year. And we're going to get the coyote populations, put a hurting on them. And we're going to see if this beaver tail oil is all that it cracks up to be. Thank you for coming by. And again, love to see you back here on Trapper Rod's Outdoor Pursuits. Bye now. God bless.